It's a fugazi, it's a woozy, it's a wazi, it's a woozy. It's fairy dust. It doesn't fucking exist. It hasn't landed. Well, the fake detectives that are online, the fake detectives that like to call themselves armchair detectives, they seem to be using Cindy Watts's name a lot. Is it just clickbait, or has Cindy Watts become a ghost? I often find when I actually do the research, these fake detectives who claim to be talking to Cindy Watts or doing interviews with her, I find that it's often an old interview that Cindy Watts did, and they're not in contact with her as extensively as they claim to be. And I know that Cindy Watts hides behind channels, and I know that she uses channels. She's done it with Lena, she's done it with Kim K, she's done it with Miss Mensa, and I know that she's done it with other channels. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if Cindy Watts was still at it, so to speak, because I do know that she uses channels, and I think she will gravitate to anyone who lets Chris off the hook, because I think that's the type of person that she is. I don't think she's held her son responsible for what he did at all. And I think that she will gravitate towards any channel that is defending Chris and blaming somebody else, because that's all she's ever done in interviews. Blame somebody else. It's never Chris's fault. I've never seen her condemn her son. But I think that both these fake detectives are using her name as clickbait. I was just listening to one of them, and they were saying, "Oh, Cindy Watts has given me permission to use these images." That might be true. That might not be. I do think that most of what these detectives say are lies. However, I do take into account that Cindy Watts does use channels to get her point across. You notice that she actually never appears. She never actually comes out and speaks. She always speaks through somebody else, because I think she's a coward, just like her son. But I do think that both these fake detectives, I think they both use Cindy Watts as clickbait, because it gives them some kind of credibility. If they're speaking to the mother of the killer, then it gives them some kind of credibility. I don't think any of them are credible. The other thing I want to say is that I keep hearing that these fake detective channels are going to be removed. I don't believe a single solitary word of it. I've heard that before, and I'm going to say that again later in this podcast. Once the conspiracy theories of these detectives get so bizarre, it kind of becomes more difficult to decipher what they're actually trying to tell you in terms of narrative. But I get the gist of what Dave tries to portray, that there was some big cover-up at Anadarko, and that there are lots of people involved, and that Nicole Kessinger carried out all of the murders, and that Chris Watts is an innocent bystander, which is total BS. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it's almost like, misogyny. Just blame it all on the woman. Well, that doesn't wash with me. So for Dave, it's always been that, or it seems to be that he believes Chris Watts is innocent, or almost innocent, and that Nicole Kessinger is a real criminal. So if he is perpetuating that myth, it's no surprise, or it wouldn't be inconceivable, is more like it. It wouldn't be inconceivable that Cindy or Ronnie Watts would gravitate towards that content, and because that's what they want to hear. And that's exactly what people who buy into these fake detectives, that's what they tune into. They tune into what they want to hear, not what the truth actually is. And I think Dave has tried to court or lure Cindy and Ronnie Watts into his orbit. That's what I think. That's what I believe. And the other one in England, first, he's flip-flopped a bit more. He said that in the past that Cindy Watts was to blame for what happened. And now, years later, he is a lot more sympathetic towards Cindy Watts. And I think for the same reason, I think that he wants to lure her into his orbit so he can use and manipulate her like he does everyone else. Now, when I say that Cindy Watts never comes out and actually speaks, she did that in the beginning. But I think after the backlash, and particularly if you watch that interview with Cindy Watts, the first solo interview that she gave, the comments under that are pretty brutal. I mean, there's hardly any comments that are favorable. I mean, they're all negative. I struggle to find any positive comments. So that's the reason why I think she does or will potentially use channels still. So she came out speaking in the beginning, but since then, since the backlash, she tends to use channels and use people to get her message across. And Chris is always innocent and Shadan is always the bad person. But I think the success of these fake detectives, and a lot of people say, oh, they're going down. Well, I've heard that before. I don't believe it. And I actually don't believe there's going to be a court case either. Because I think that, particularly the one in England, I think he's playing the game right now and he's loving every moment of it. I mean, he's basically goading the family because he hasn't been removed and the tech giants haven't removed him. And because of that, I don't believe that there's going to be a court case and I don't see him being removed from this platform anytime soon. But if I'm wrong, of course, I'll be very, very happy, but I just don't see it happening. But both these fake detectives, not only do they use Cindy Watts' clickbait, Nicole Kessinger has been the biggest form of clickbait. A lot of their subs and cult followers and, subscribers, they became obsessed with the Watts case and the blaming of Nicole Kessinger, which she's often always the scapegoat and used as, she's used as clickbait. Blaming Nicole Kessinger has fed into their obsession because they're going on emotion rather than fact. And so many of them believe that Nicole Kessinger was actually going to be arrested because that's what they wanted to be, that's what they wanted to be told. That's what they wanted to hear. And these fake detectives delivered that Nicole Kessinger was going to be in big, big trouble and that she was going to be arrested. And you see, it hasn't happened because it was all a lie. But because they're cult followers, the cult followers of these fake detectives, because they're so obsessed with the case, they're no longer interested in truth. They're only interested in manipulation of facts to suit their own narratives. So the conspiracy theories are there to fuel the obsession of the subs and cult followers. And notice the conspiracy theories get more and more bizarre. And, it's not about true crime anymore. True crime is just the foundation. It's about what do you want the narrative to be and what narrative can I sell? What narrative can I hook the subscribers with is the narrative that I'm going to go with. And I'm going to make it as ridiculous and nonsensical as possible because I have the freedom to do so. No one's stopping us. So, no one's stopping them. They haven't been removed. So, the conspiracy theories get more and more ridiculous and they make absolutely no sense. So the fact that there is supposed to be some cover up and there was a payoff, there's no evidence of that, because I think that, and it becomes to the point where the actual narrative becomes so ridiculous that it's obscure what the actual point is. What was the actual point? What actually happened becomes so obscure. So there was a big cover up at Anadarko and there was a big payoff and, let's put, let's get, theories about other people involved, not just one person, not just NK, but lots of other people were involved. And then it becomes a murder mystery whodunit. And that excites and fuels the obsession of their subscribers. Because then it becomes, there's lots of people involved and we have to find out who these people are and make sure that they pay. And remember when a certain someone was saying that they were getting messages, coded messages from Chris Watts? I mean, that's almost cringeworthy that people could actually believe that. When someone said that they're going to help the family with an appeal for Chris Watts is not even eligible for an appeal. When a certain somebody, and that includes Kim, said, "Oh, I'm doing this channel and we're doing a 35C for Chris," what happened to that? It's what they're being fed, what their audiences are being fed, is word salad. Nothing actually happens. The case doesn't change. Chris Watts remains in prison for the rest of his life, but you just get this continuing manipulation of facts, growing conspiracy theories that get more bizarre, to fuel the obsession of people who are obsessed with the Watts case and really should be finding something better to do with their time than sit down and listen to absolute garbage. But they're still, all these years later, just obsessed, and conspiracy theories fuel their obsession.